Today I bring something new to you guys. So I came to my little cousin's football game, or soccer if you guys are American. It's currently halftime over here. And it took me a while to find a place in which I could be alone and record a little bit. But I was thinking about when I was a teenager as well, when I was a kid as well, and how I love to play football, especially also basketball, a bit of tennis, a bit of swimming, a bit of a bunch of things, but especially football, and how sports have a fundamental role in development of kids, of teenagers, and how we sometimes end up forgetting about this role that sports and other things that we could say are our passions, or the things that we really like to do, the things that we really love, and how they influence our lives, and how they influence, and not how they influence, but how they are something intrinsic to us, and they kind of guide us into the things that we really love to do and the things that we are supposed to be doing. I also was thinking about how sometimes you can kind of notice the people that have more intrinsic or extrinsic motivation from an early age, just by how they react to a crowd, or they react to people watching them do the thing that they are doing. So for instance, in this example, there are some players, some boys that I see, that they seem like they can both get very easily rattled if the crowd is opposing them, or they get very motivated if the crowd is in favor of them. And that's why you have the soccer moms, and they're always screaming the boys' name and like cheering them on. And at the same time, there are other boys that pretty much stoic. They pretty much don't care if people are cheering them on or not. And I think this has a lot to do with the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and how this plays a role down the line in their future once they're adults, once they're grown up and they have to do stuff. And there are people that can do things just for the sake of them. They have this intrinsic motivation to do their best, to be the best as they could be. And there are people that rely more on extrinsic motivation, so on people telling them what they should do, or on those cues from the external world. So by praise, by things that people tell you. And how even in sports, I think that many of the players that we call clutch, or players that don't get phased on the brightest stage, on the brightest lights, the biggest moments, I think they have more intrinsic motivation than extrinsic motivation. And that's one of their secrets, so that they don't get as phased, and that they can perform sometimes even better in the brightest of lights. Like, they're the guys that have that spark, that star, and they'll perform on the direst of moments. They'll show up. Another thing that I was thinking about with sports, I was just remembering my life as a teenager and how much I loved it, and how these things show up from an early age. Another of those things, I think, plays into the positions that we tend to play, or that we want to play, or the players that we like the most. So for instance, depending on the position, if you like a midfielder, you're probably more of a person that tends to more of a leadership role, a role that is sometimes more of a facilitator to others than necessarily to want the bright lights on top of you. If you are a striker, if you like strikers, you want that glory of scoring the goal. If you are a goalkeeper, You may have a bit of leadership, but in another way, in a more defensive style. So I think that those things also play a role in how people, like the how do I say this? The soft skills aspect as well. So it has a lot to do with your personality and your inner traits, not necessarily with your hard skills. And I was having all of these musings just by watching a teenage boys soccer game on a Saturday morning, and it's sunny, it's quite sunny. That's our type of fall, our type of autumn over here in Brazil. Quite sunny, quite, temperature must be almost 30 degrees. And yeah, what role do sports play in your life? And when you were growing up, how did this influence you? What do you think about it? Keep rocking, keep rolling. Let's go.